All right, so we are, just so everyone knows, we are live on LinkedIn currently. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and let folks in, and we can get kicked off whenever you're ready. We are, just so everyone knows, we are live on
already.
LinkedIn currently. All right.
Okay, welcome everybody to our first West Virginia Entrepreneurship Ecosystem LinkedIn Lunch. This is a monthly series where we are going through resources or processes that you have to go through as an entrepreneur to get your business established and growing in West Virginia. So today, first step of starting a business in West Virginia is getting established with the West Virginia State Tax Department. So today we have Brittany joining us from the training division. So we'll have Brittany go through her presentation, and then we'll open the floor up to questions. Go ahead, Brittany. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Hello, everyone. It's nice to be here. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my slideshow here. Okay, so this is our new business registration presentation here. This, of course, is our disclaimer. The presentation is meant to be a source of general information and not to be substituted for tax laws, rules, or regulations, and may not be relied upon as legal or tax advice or to support specific instances not addressed. So our overview today, we're going to go over the business registration basics. We're going to touch on My Taxes and what all it has to offer, and we're going to go over some support and resources. So first up is our business registration basics. So what is considered business activity? We get this question quite a bit. So it is all purposeful revenue generating activity. Okay, it is engaged in or caused to be engaged with the object of gain or economic benefit, either direct or indirect. There's also competitive activities, all activities of the state and its political subdivisions, which involve the sale of tangible personal property or the rendering of service, which such service activities compete with or may compete with activities of another person. So basically, it's when you're competing, selling the same goods or services as another company. So what is the West Virginia Business Registration Tax? So that is the tax code 11.12.3. It does require a business registration certificate to be obtained before the individual or the business conducts business activity in West Virginia. Some general information, there is a flat $30 fee that must be paid with the application in order to receive your business registration certificate. The business registration certificates are permanent unless they are revoked or suspended, or if there's any change to the business, such as the business name, the location address, the ownership, anything like that that would impact the business directly and the license, that's when you would need to register for a new business registration certificate. So all separate businesses must get a separate business registration license. So if you have multiple locations, then you need to get multiple business registration certificates. So you have to submit an application for each individual location. So we have our West Virginia one-stop portal. Okay, that portal is for being able to register with all of the beginning entities all at once. So your main beginning entities that you need to register with are the West Virginia Secretary of State's office, the West Virginia Tax Division, and if you have employees, then you need to register with the West Virginia Workforce as well. Okay, so if you fill out the online application and go through the online process, that one application registers you with all three entities at once. Okay, if you choose to go the paper application route, the paper application can be found on our website at tax.wve.gov. Okay, it's a PDF that you can print out, fill out, and mail in with the $30 registration fee. But if you choose to go the paper application route, that paper application only registers you with the West Virginia State Tax Division. It does not register you with the West Virginia Secretary of State or the West Virginia Workforce like the online application does. So who is required to register? So all business structures are required to register with the West Virginia State Tax Division. Depending on your entity type, determines if West Virginia Secretary of State's office requires you to register. An example of ones that are not required to register with Secretary of State's office would be sole proprietorships and general partnerships, but those two still are required to register with the West Virginia State Tax Division. We have special entities that are required to register. Some examples of those are remote sellers, marketplace facilitators. Those are considered like Amazon, Etsy, things like that. You have online shops or vendors selling physical products, and you have governments engaging in commerce. Other required filings is other types of entities that are not fairly common, but they are still required to register with the West Virginia State Tax Division, such as joint ventures, nonprofits, other domestic households and estates. Those cover nannies, live-in nannies that need a withholding account and all of that. They still have to fill out a business registration application. So who's required to register but not pay the $30 registration fee? We do have a few that are exempt from that $30 registration fee, and those are nonprofits, farms, government agencies, and withholding only filings. The withholding only filings are, like I mentioned just a second ago, like the live-in nannies and stuff like that, the domestic households. Again, they still have to fill out the application, but they are not required to pay the $30 fee, and they will have a withholding only account open for them. So the withholding only account, they do apply to sole proprietorships, general partnerships, and out-of-state companies. We have special licensings and permits in West Virginia. So regulated work, it requires special licensing and permits, such as contractors. Contractors need to register with all three entities that I mentioned before, the tax division, the Secretary of State, and the workforce if they have employees. Another one that the contractors have to register for and submit applications for is the Contractors Licensing Board. So depending on the type of work and services you do or provide, or products you provide, determines if you need special licensings and permits added on top of the others. Some of the ones that the tax division offers are cemetery licenses, transient vendor, telemarketer, bingo and raffle. Another one is drug paraphernalia, hemp and kratom. Again, all of these are other ones that you need to register for as well if you do that service or product, if you perform the service or sell the product. So the business owner is responsible to make sure that they have all of the licenses needed based on the activity that they do for the business. Guidance and action, you can contact the agency most likely to handle your type of service for the guidance. If you are unsure, you can always contact the West Virginia State Tax Division, and we will be happy to try to point you in the right direction based off of your business activity. So what happens after you register your business? So once you register your business, when you register it, of course, you will select the entity type. We at the tax division do not recommend any type over any of the others. That is completely up to the business owner to decide what fits their needs best. You determine what goods you sell and taxable services you perform. And then you determine if you're going to have employees, and we make sure that you have the withholding account open for your employees. And then you decide if you're going to operate in specific industries to determine if you need special licensings on top of what you've already applied for. So My Taxes. My Taxes is a amazing tool that we have at the tax division. Some of you may be familiar with it, some of you might not be. So My Taxes is our online portal that allows you to log in and create an account and everything, and you get to pay your taxes online. You can some of the tax types you can file your return, you can amend your return, and you can view your returns on My Taxes. Some that allow that are sales and use, withholding. Another one is the elective pass-through tax type. All of those can be filed through My Taxes. We have a few others as well. You can request waivers through the My Taxes portal. You can request refunds if you have a credit on your account. You can see your accounts in live time. You can see if there is any balance due, any credits owed, anything like that. You can view any letters that have been issued out to you. You can reprint your business registration certificate. You can even communicate with the West Virginia Tax Division through the messaging option, and it will send a message and we can message you back. That usually takes roughly 24 hours because it has to roll overnight. But overall, it is a very fast and easy portal to use. It's very secure, and it's much more reliant nowadays than trying to submit something through the mail and waiting on the mail to get to us and the potential of it getting lost. Nothing gets lost in My Taxes. You get a confirmation page immediately after submitting, and you can use that confirmation number as a tracker as well if you want an update on anything. So some of the key points to remember about business registration. What is business activity? It is all general revenue producing activity. Okay. If you're unsure if your business needs to register, you can always give us a call and we can determine that based off of the activity that you're performing. We also have a form that you could fill out that can be reviewed to tell you if you have legal nexus. It's the legal nexus form. It can be found on our website. And that will also tell you if you need to register with the West Virginia State Tax Division. There is the $30 registration fee unless the business is exempt. The license, again, is permanent unless changes are made or the license is revoked or suspended. You can register online at the One Stop portal or by paper. We recommend the One Stop portal just because it makes it easier for our taxpayers. Everyone performing business activity is required to register. They are required to register to get a business registration license and a business registration account. But again, the activity type you are doing determines what other tax accounts you have opened. They must have a withholding tax account if they have employees, if the business has employees. And keep in mind the filing frequency for each tax type. So what that means is not all of your different taxes are going to have the same filing frequency. For example, withholding, if you have employees, that is quarterly. You have 4 quarters and an annual return due, and you have to pay monthly. If you have a sales and use account, that account needs to be filed and paid monthly. So again, it just depends on the tax type to determine the filing frequency. So support and resources that we have here at the tax division. You can find help at our taxpayer services. We have walk-in locations. All of those walk-in locations can be found on our website at tax.wve.gov. You can call taxpayer services at 304-558-3333. We also offer workshops and webinars right now. The current ones that we have available that are up on our website that you can register for our business registration, withholding, sales and use, and then we have the one that's up and coming that is not made public yet, but we are working on it, is fuel tax. So if you have any questions after this presentation here, you're more than welcome to reach out to our tax outreach box. It's taxoutreach@wve.gov for further help. So yeah, I thank y'all for listening to the presentation here, and you're more than welcome to give any final questions that you might have.
Thank you. Those are some great resources. I have a few questions, so if anybody wants to drop their questions in the chat, we can read through those as well. But Brittany, I was wondering, what is an EIN?
So an EIN, you'll hear it two different ways. You'll hear it EIN or FEIN. And basically what that is the Federal Employer Identification Number. Okay, and you get that number from the IRS. That is basically the best way to look at it is it's a social for a business is what it is.
And how do you get that?
You apply for it at the IRS website.
Okay.
You have to fill out an application on the IRS website and go through their process of getting one. If I remember correctly, there is no fee, or the fee is really low for it. It's not super expensive to get it. I'm pretty sure last I checked it was free though.
Okay.
To get, you don't have to pay a service to get it.
And then a clarification, when you're talking about establishing the business structures and you said that you choose the one that best fits your business, how would I know if I'm an LLC or an S Corp or any of those different structures?
So the best way to find that out is, well, first off, they need to determine what their business needs are. Okay. They need to determine where they want the liability of the business to fall. And they also need to determine what sort of tax credits or tax structure that they want to fall under to determine their entity type. So, for example, our different our entity types, they get different tax credits based off of how they structure their business. But there's no one tax credit that fits one business over the other. So, for example, our corporate income tax, they do offer some beneficial tax credits, but there is a very long return that goes into that one, and there is a lot of rules and regulations for that entity type. So, yeah, it's completely up to the business owner on what fits them best. The best way that I like to tell people in the very beginning when they're first starting out and they're not sure what entity type to choose, base it off of your liability. Where do you want the liability of the business to fall? Are you okay with it falling directly on the owner? If so, that's a sole proprietorship. Are you wanting it to fall back on the business? Then that is considered an LLC, which is a limited liability company. Do you have a partner that's playing in this with you as well? Then you're going to go for a partnership, like general partnership or a limited liability partnership. It just determines where you want the liability to fall.
What is the difference between a single member LLC and sole proprietor?
They're the same. I'm sorry, the single member LLC and the sole proprietorship. So the sole proprietorship allows the individual to file all of their business taxes on their personal taxes. Okay. It also allows all of the liability for the business to fall directly on the owner. A single member LLC is usually a sole proprietorship that has moved over to an LLC. They have moved the liability to fall on the company directly. And they have now moved on to filing their business taxes separate from their personal income taxes, such as if they have if they would need a pass-through tax account, that usually is not put on them being a single member LLC unless they request it. But if they choose to, they still have the option to file on their personal income tax account as well for the limited liability, but most of them file it separate.
Okay. And then through My Taxes, you talked about we could pay each of the different accounts through there. How do we know if we are in good standing with the West Virginia State Tax Department?
So the best way to know if you're in good standing is to contact us or to submit a request for a letter of good standing. So what puts a business in good standing is they have to make sure all of their returns are filed and completely up to date. They can't be missing any returns. They can't have any unresolved debt or anything like that. They can be on a payment plan if there is a large debt. Um, that they get a clause in that instance, which is conditional letter of good standing, is what that one is when they're on a payment plan. So basically, that means as long as they're meeting their payment plan and doing all of this, they're in good standing, is what that conditional letter of good standing means. But the best way to know if you're in good standing is to contact us. And our taxpayer services section is more than welcome to, or more than happy to help anyone figure out if they are in good standing. And if they're not, they'll tell them what they need to submit to get in good standing.
Okay, and then the last question that I have is, can you explain the differences in taxes between nonprofit organizations and small businesses?
Um, can you give me an example? Like what are we referring? Like what tax types they get set up with, or?
Yeah, what would be the tax liability? So nonprofits have tax exemptions.
Yep.
Correct. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
So nonprofits, they are tax exempt as long as they are performing nonprofit activities. If they engage in any for-profit activities, then their tax structure changes. So at that time, then they are subject to tax, and that part of their business that is making a profit is no longer tax exempt.
Okay. Okay, that is all the questions that I have. Does anybody else on the call here have any questions to drop into the chat? Think that might be it. Thank you so much, Brittany, for joining us today. We can follow up via those resources that you had in the presentation if we need any extra help. And we look forward to having somebody from the West Virginia State Tax Department return to go a little bit deeper into those withholding taxes for a different session. So thank you so much.
Thank you.